The first time Noah saw her, she didn't smile. She was sitting on a bench outside a museum, wearing headphones, lost in a book too big for her lap. But not big enough to hide behind her brows were slightly furrowed. And her lips pressed together, the kind of expression people wear when they're trying not to feel too much in public. Noah should have walked past. He didn't. Something in her stillness, the way the world moved around her and she didn't move at all, felt like gravity. So he sat one bench over, close enough to feel the silence, far enough not to break it. She didn't look at him, but she saw him. He could tell. Days passed. Noah returned. Always around the same time. Always the same place. Sometimes she was there. Sometimes she wasn't. He never stayed long when she wasn't. Then one afternoon, she looked up. Just once. Just a glance. Nothing dramatic. But that look, it hit him harder than any thunderstorm ever had. Because her eyes didn't just meet his, they paused, held. And in that single glance, he felt something strange. Recognition, as if her soul had looked at his and quietly whispered, "You." She didn't smile, but she didn't look away either. Their rhythm was strange, a ritual built on silence and presence. They never spoke, not until the 13th day. It was raining. He offered her his umbrella. She hesitated, then took it. No thank you, no words, just a look, that same deep, quiet look. Like she was trying to memorize the outline of who he was. When he turned to leave, she finally spoke only 3 words. "You always come." He turned back. "You always stay." And for the first time, she smiled, not a full one, not all teeth, but enough to crack the ice and let the light in. They started meeting inside the museum after that. Sometimes talking, sometimes not. She told him her name was Alara. That she used books to escape, because sometimes life made too much noise. He told her he was a photographer, and that she looked like the kind of story he would ruin himself trying to capture. She rolled her eyes, but her smile lingered longer that time. They felt like it was inevitable, not fast, not dramatic, but deep, like water filling a glass you didn't realize was already cracked. They filled each other without knowing they were bleeding into each other's lives in ways that would change everything, and yet they were still afraid. Because when love is quiet, when it's real, it doesn't shout. It waits and hopes the other person is brave enough to hear it. Because some stories aren't just about love, they're about becoming. They were walking through a quiet part of the city, an old book district that smelled like dust and forgotten words. Noah was holding a roll of undeveloped film in one hand, and a pastry in the other. Alara, for once, wasn't carrying a book. She was carrying silence, not the peaceful kind, the kind that presses against your ribs. Like something is waiting to be said. Noah noticed. Of course he did. He asked, gently, "You okay?" She stopped walking, looked at him, really looked at him, and then said something he didn't expect. "Do you ever feel like this isn't real? Like you're dreaming something you don't want to wake up from?" He blinked, felt that ache, that fear, because he knew what she meant. Because he'd felt it too. "Yeah," he said, "every day." She nodded slowly, then whispered, "Then promise me something. Anything. If this is a dream, don't wake me up." He took a breath, stepped closer, and said, "If this is a dream, I'll burn the sky before I let anyone end it." She didn't reply, but her fingers found his, and that was enough. Over the following weeks, Alara opened up more, bit by bit. No grand revelations, just truths hidden in sideways glances. Quiet sighs, sentences that trailed off but meant more than full stories ever could. She told him about the father who left, the mother who stayed but never really saw her. The nights where sleep didn't come unless music drowned the memories. And Noah? He never pushed, never pressed, he just stayed. And that, to her, was louder than any love poem ever written. But love, real love, has a way of making people scared. Because when someone sees you, truly sees you, you start wondering if they'll stay. When they see the rest, the broken parts, the storm behind your smile. Alara worried, so one day, she did the thing she always did. When she started to fall too deep, she disappeared. No texts, no calls, no bench, no museum, nothing. Noah waited. Day 1. He told himself she was busy. Day 2. He walked by her apartment but didn't knock. Day 3. He sat on the bench where it all began and stared at the spot where she used to sit. And just before he left, she appeared, hair damp from rain, eyes red, breathing uneven. She sat beside him, didn't speak for a full minute. Then quietly, "I'm sorry." He didn't ask where she went. Didn't need to. He just looked at her with all the love she tried to run from. and said, "You don't have to disappear to be loved." She broke right there, not loudly but completely, and when he held her, it wasn't to fix her, it was to remind her she didn't have to carry it all alone. Because love only becomes real when it's tested, and still chooses to stay. They were closer than ever, but closeness didn't mean safety. Sometimes the deeper you fall, the more afraid you become of what you stand to lose, and Alara, she felt it in waves. Not fear of him, but of what it meant to be seen, to be held. To be known so deeply that losing him would feel like losing part of herself. When the job offer came for Noah, a documentary project overseas, months of travel and capturing stories in places words couldn't reach, Alara didn't flinch. She told him to go. She smiled when she said it. Said she'd be fine, said she believed in him. She lied. And he knew it. "Tell me not to go," he said the night before his flight. His voice low, desperate, careful. She looked up at him with eyes full of storm. "If I ask you to stay, you'll hate me one day, and if I don't, I might break." He stepped closer, brushed her cheek, held her gaze. "Then break, but don't lie to me." Tears rolled down her face. She didn't wipe them. "I want you to stay, but I need you to go." And that was the truth, and it was love. Noah left. Not because he wanted to, but because love sometimes means walking away. So the other person can find themselves, so you can find yourself. Distance didn't lessen what they felt. If anything, it magnified it. Letters turned to voice notes turned to late-night calls. Some days they laughed like nothing had changed. Some days they cried and said too little. But in between the loneliness and the waiting, they grew. Alara started painting again, something she hadn't touched since she was 17. Noah sent her photos of sunsets across oceans, with captions like, "Greater than wish you could see the way this light looks through your eyes." They were apart, but never alone. Their love lived between stars and screens, between sketches and photographs, between longing and memory.